The theme is called continuous delivery or deployment, and we have a chance to hear 20 minutes of pure wisdom of Ethan Ram, the chief architect in Playtech's Videobet unit. Let's make a round of applause to Ethan. You go.
Okay, so I think what we're going to talk today is about the first Agile manifesto principle, and that is, let's see if I can ask. Okay, so our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. So this is the first like Agile manifesto. They didn't start the counting. Fine, I have 2 more minutes. So this is the first thing, and we're going to really focus on this one here, on the continuous delivery. How do we do continuous delivery? But what is continuous delivery? Maybe I'll start with how we usually work in software companies. Okay, so this is a major release. Okay, major release coming once every several months. It's loaded with a lot of goodies, a lot of, it left America 5 months ago, and it will reach Estonia probably in time with a lot of goods on top of that release. And this is how we've been working usually, creating big releases, shipping them out, then moving to the next big release. But I want to tell you about my experience with doing continuous delivery, okay, which is very different. So, as an R&D manager, what I was facing was this. Okay, now it's coming. Okay, so, sorry, this is already the second one. Okay, so the product manager is came to me and said, we are starting this campaign next week, and I need the product to do this new thing. Okay, and then another manager, the QA manager, would come and say, I think this idea would work, and I want to try and do some A/B testing to see if this would work, and I want to do it to try it next week. Then another guy from marketing would come and say, we need to stop showing this feature to EU customers because this is regulation, we can't do this with the regulation changes. And then another guy coming, I need to know if users are clicking this link and if they see this error message on the screen. And finally the CEO came to me and said, forget about all the other features, we need to go live by the end of the month. So, never mind what you have on the ship, drop everything, just get the ship to Estonia by the end of the month. And basically, the way that we were working, my answer as a manager was usually no, I can't do it. Okay, this is the way that we are working. Shipping big ships with a lot of goods on it will not allow me to have all those things done in a rapid way. And what we understand here is that what they are asking me, the business guys in the company, what they're asking me is not to have a big ship arriving every few months to the shore. What they actually want is to see something like this. Okay, they want to see small, sugary elements coming every few days, every day. They want to see something new on the product. They don't want to have big ships. They want to be able to say, tomorrow give me the green one, day after give me the yellow one, day after give me the red one. We don't. So this concept of big releases is not working so well, especially if you're talking about web products, something that needs to be dynamic, needs to be changing all the time. So the question is, what do you do if you are used to having big ships coming released every few months, and now you want to start delivering something small every day? How do you go about doing this transformation, major transformation? So I took here like the general product life cycle. Okay, I have product definition, development, QA, staging, delivery, and then monitoring of what was delivered. So this is a cycle that we do in software development, and this cycle is actually, this is how things are done. Okay, I'm not going to change that. This is how, so the question is, today from product definition and until I get to delivery, it takes me several months, and now I want to make this whole cycle take just one day. Okay, let's take one day, although I can show you later that in some cases this can happen a lot more than one day, a lot more often than one day. So how do you, let's call it streamline, okay, how do you make this cycle happen every day? Okay, I want to get to a situation that this is happening all the time. Now you can say, yeah, we need automation and DevOps, but automation and DevOps is not, we will not make it move from, you know, once every several months to once a day. Okay, yes, of course I need to do automation, I need to put into this some effort, things that will happen in an automatic way, but that's not enough to make this cycle happen every month. Now, actually I could be speaking for 5 hours on how to do this transformation. I only have 20 minutes, so I'll just highlight a few items. Later on I'll also point a book that you can read, and of course you can always come and talk to me later, and I'll be happy to further explain. So first thing is managing the development. Okay, so one thing that we do is we can take something called a Kanban board. I'll explain in a second what a Kanban board is. Let's call it delivery Kanban board, and this is where all the stuff is happening. Okay, all the delivery process of the company is happening around this board, and so backlog is where the new stuff is coming. Okay, that's where new ideas, new requirements are coming from product, and then selected is something that we decided we're going to be doing. Okay, then next is in progress, something that is currently being changed, being developed, being done, and then once it was done, it's resolved. Then we need to send it to QA, then it will be verified, so QA checked and it's actually working. Then we want to put it on staging. Okay, we're not sending it to production immediately, we'll be sending it to production in a couple of, in a day, in an hour, after we finish whatever, and then done is when it's actually out deployed in the field. Okay, and the way that we do it in practice is something, a tool like Jira, for example. This is a screen capture from Jira. And now you can see here different tasks on each of those elements, and while I'm working, let's say I'm a developer and I was working on this defect, all metrics says that does something, and then I finished, I'm moving it to resolve. And this gives me like the big picture is always available for everyone to know what is currently happening. So I know exactly there are dev requests here, there are defects here, so there are changes to the configuration here. So everything is done on the same place. Everything is in one picture, and okay, and developers and business owners, and each one of those would have its own section in it. So this is one tool that is used for to create a continuous delivery. And I think there are a couple of interesting items that I want to show you. One is for each of those columns, backlog, selected, there should be someone in the company that is responsible for this specific column. So for example, backlog is where the product manager would add his requirements, things that he wants to do, and he would prioritize them on this side. Selected is probably done by the product owner. He's working with the team, he's working with he knows exactly what can be added to the current working queue, and so he would move it to, he would be responsible for selected. In progress, probably the R&D manager or someone in the R&D that is responsible for or developers that are actually starting to work, they would move it to in progress, and then would move it to resolved, and then we have a QA, a tester that would test the feature and move it to verified, and then a guy from product from deployment team would maybe deploy it to the staging or deploy it onwards to the production environment. So there is someone responsible for each of those columns. Furthermore, when I have a feature, link Facebook invites to pending request. Okay, I need someone to be the owner of this feature. Okay, so there should be one person who knows about it throughout the whole this whole process. Usually there is a developer that is assigned to this task, and I would expect this developer not just to be responsible for the feature when it is in development. I would expect that developer to be responsible for that feature also when it goes to QA and when it goes to production all the way. So when it went to production, I would expect that developer, for example, to try it out in production and see that it is actually working in production. When it's in QA, I would ask them to see that it's working in QA. Okay, so this is one element. Okay, was the delivery Kanban board. And let's talk about risk management or risk mitigation. What we're talking here is taking code every day and releasing it out to the field. So, of course, I won't be able to complete the QA cycle. How do I go about it? How do I make sure that what I deliver to the field is not going to break everything? Okay, this is a big question that we need to answer. And when I'm saying we need to answer, we need to give good solution for. Okay, so what is it that I really need to have? So one thing, I really need to have good monitoring on what's happening in the field. Okay, what is it that is currently running? I really need to know it very well. So you can create different kind of graphs to actually show what's there. But those graphs should show you first how the hardware is doing, second how your software is running, and third, maybe most important, am I meeting my business goals? Am I getting the business results? So let's say I have one of my business goals is to have new registrations. Okay, and I know that every day I get 2,000 new registrations. Every hour I get, so it would go maybe like this during the day. I want to be able to make sure that I get it, after the release, I still get those registrations. So this is monitoring a business result. And if I install something on production, now there are no registrations, something is broken, and maybe I want to revert. Now, maybe I want to revert. Can you revert? What happens if you decided that you made a mistake, you deployed something that is broken to the field? So being able to revert is very critical. Oh man, I'm clicking. Yes, okay, so prepare to fail. You have to know, you have to be able to fail and fail quick and fail safe. So be able to roll back, and in order to know that it is actually working, this rolling back, you need also to test it. So not just assume that when you will need to roll back once in 2 months or whatever, you still need to, it will work, but you actually have to try. Okay, so really rollback is the ultimate risk mitigation element. So the place where I was running as an R&D manager, we were releasing software every 2 months, and we said we have to change this, we have to go continuous delivery. So how do you do it? What are the steps needed to get there? Okay, this is and I'm sure that if I click, it actually works. It's not showing up here, but it is showing here. Excellent. Sorry about that. Okay, so first of all, doing this change, I just gave you a couple of elements of the change. So there are a lot of things that we have to, a lot of things that you need to do in order to get it working. So doing this change it's a big project. It's a risk. So I need to get management on top of it. I need everyone to decide that this is what we want to do. That we want to start releasing every day or every week or something like that. And it's not necessarily that I need to, so if I started with 2 months, I don't necessarily need to go directly to multiple releases a day. Okay, I can set some milestone. I can say, okay, I want to start with once a week. I want to release 2 times a week. I want to release a day daily. I want to release multiple times a day. And companies are doing it. It's not something that you don't see. But let's say we took only the first item here. Okay, so it's a project to deliver. Of course, you need project management to be involved. Everyone to be part of it. It's really a big. Now there is a lot of training to be done. There are new processes that I showed you, new tools that will be part of it, and yeah. I think we can skip that. Once you manage to actually release, it's very important to celebrate it, show that something new is happening here. This is really a different way to deliver software. You need to be happy and celebrate it. That once you manage to make a change like this. So this is how we all looked on the first time on the first week that we released. In continuous delivery, it was a bit, crazy, but you have to go for it. We built all this infrastructure. We built everyone knew their job, what needs to be done, and then you go for it. Okay, and then it actually worked. Okay, it was working, and I want just to highlight some unexpected results that happened, because what was expected with the ability to move faster and be able to answer a request from the management, this is the core of it. But some other things also happened once we started releasing in our case, every week. So first there was this transparency. Since there was this board and the board was on the wall and everyone knew exactly who is doing what and why and when and what are the priorities. And this transparency within the company really created an excellent atmosphere. People knew what's going on, they were much more involved. And then as part of it, we saw that people stopped fighting. Before that there was always this, the R&D was always telling the product management they can't do stuff. The product management would be always angry because they would want to change something last minute and the R&D would say no, and there was always this. So we didn't have this anymore, because every day they could prioritize whatever they chose to be selected was developed immediately. And also team leaders stopped blaming each other. So before we were in a situation working in waterfall, so the team leader in the R&D would blame the guy in QA that he didn't understand the feature, and the guy in QA said he didn't implement it right. Here, because of this transparency, because there is an owner to every feature, this blaming also stopped. So and actually people were coming to work and it was more fun. It was more fun because every day there was something new and every day there was something happening, and we didn't have those cycles, release cycles of we need to get to the deadline and we have hundreds of bugs and everyone is working on bugs and then everyone is working on research, and so those crazy cycles did not happen anymore. Everything was smooth. I said everyone got more involved, and also saying in when we recruited people, when we were interviewing people and saying we're working in continuous delivery in Agile, we managed to find better developers, better engineers to join us. And as an R&D manager, I thought it was awesome, really, because one of the most difficult things for me to do was to arrange this ship, to say 2 months, 4 months in advance what I will be able to do, and then actually meet the deadlines. So difficult, so hard. And as a manager now in continuous delivery, I only care about what will happen the next day. So I'm actually facilitating the process much easier to do it. So with the gong coming up. 0 seconds. I managed to do it in 20 minutes. Questions? Yes.
Yes.
I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
For example, how do you manage such kind of situation? You're delivering this big ship, and when you're coming to Tallinn port, you get a call and you need one of the box throw away. You tested everything is working, but you need to throw away one feature inside the
big ship.
yes.
This is exactly one of the reasons why I don't want to work in big ships. I want to work in small candies. Every day, small candy. So if you don't want this box, okay, we don't need to. We build this box for you today, and you decide at the end of the day that you don't need it or you don't want it. So don't release today. Release tomorrow. The next feature. It will be included in there, but you can turn it off with a switch. So yeah, definitely we don't want to be in this situation where we have a big ship with a lot of features, and then some of them after a few months they are not relevant anymore. Sure.
Do you have a lot of dependencies, for example, during your build? Or you are like independent project?
We have a lot of dependencies. Yes, it's a big product. A lot of dependencies.
Do you also have a scale, like what is the optimal number up to what this kind of a system or structure can work, or what's like the maximum capacity of people involved?
It's also a good question. Look, I think that the best is this, running something like this for about 15 people is probably 15 developers is probably it can work. Maybe if you go to 30 developers or 50 developers, you need to invest more effort in making it making it still a viable solution. But I think that you will find that in most companies, to have a release going or a product line that is run by a set of developers, usually you don't really have more than 15 developers. This is like anyway, this is a group, and usually it's around a group forms a product. And by the way, this does not necessarily mean that you need to deliver everything every day. Maybe you deliver, another plugin, another element. You don't need to deliver the full system. But taking a system, maybe a system that has a lot of dependencies, and then first bringing it to the place where you can do the deployment every day is a big effort. Just as an example, when we were releasing software every 2 months, then then bringing down the system for 8 hours to do software upgrades of the database, well, it made sense. Not so bad, take down the service for 8 hours every 2 months. When you do continuous delivery, you need to be able to deliver in 2 minutes. So no more than 2 minutes of downtime between releases. And so we had to work a lot just to get to this place where we can run a script and it pushes a version with the database upgrades to all the servers in just 2 minutes. So this is kind of things that you need. When I showed the cycle, you need to look at every item in the cycle and see how can you streamline it to the point that you can actually reach continuous delivery.
Okay. Yep.
Which tools did you use? Could you please list them? For example, Jira, Git, what else?
Just to specify, to also to online, what were the tools that you used? Jira?
Yes, to arrange all this process.
Okay, so yes, Jira is definitely a management tool that we used. A very good tool for database changes, to make the database schema very close to code. It's called FlyWayDB. There are several tools, but we're using here FlyWayDB, and it's very convenient because it really helps you. You can do upgrades to the database and downgrades to the database. So if you need to revert something, it's very convenient too. Scripting, a lot of scripting. Yeah, we're using a quick build, Jenkins, build server for sure. Having continuous integration as part of it is definitely something you want to have.
And Git, possibly Git, so GitHub.
Subversion, whatever.
Subversion.
Same thing.
No question.
Yes?
If you do this deliveries, for example, every day, let's suppose that product is huge. How do you make sure that once you release, the product is still working? How do you organize testing?
Okay, the question was how do you organize testing when you have a huge ship or a huge product, but you do the development every day, daily basis? So how do you make sure that it actually works every time you do the
So
review?
it's true that when I'm developing, I better develop with test-driven development, and I better have unit tester along the way, and continuous integration, continuous and test automation, or what we call integration testing. All of those, maybe with Selenium or something like that, is very, very important. Okay, it's very important to have all of those, and still we understand that doing some manual testing is also required, and you can't just say, okay, manual testing is no longer needed because I have all the automation in place. In this case, in the project that I was running, what we used to do is before every major release, once it was on this test bed or a semi-production environment, we ran something called the test frenzy, where everyone in the company, everyone on the floor, developers, the gardener, the people, everyone that we could gather around would come and run for an hour and a half on the product, on the test bed, and would try to break it or try to see if things are working. And if we didn't find anything major failing, we would then release. So this was another way of investing a lot of QA resources in a short time, even if it's not QA in the orderly way. It's not like everyone has their test script and they run through the 40,000 test script, but at least it gave us a good understanding that the product is working and not broken.
Okay. There was one question in between. Did you have? Yeah. And then back to you.
Yes, I want to ask that many, like you explained the definition, for me is very familiar. It's like Agile development. Mm-hmm. Is continuous integration is a part of Agile development, or it's another way to explain Agile development?
No, as I said in the first slide, in the Agile manifesto, it's written that continuous delivery is the ultimate goal. Okay, we really want to work closely with the customers, give the customers something beneficial as soon as possible. This is the essence of working in an Agile development, and continuous delivery in that sense does it in the best way. Okay, takes you the furthest you can.
Okay. Yeah, sir.
Yeah. How you can describe the value which you get investing into automatization? So you spend some resources, some time to get this process faster, and what value did you achieve?
Money-wise, time-wise.
Yes, you waste the time, or you spend the time very.
Yes, look, it's very difficult to answer, to put matrices into quality of software. It's very hard, especially when you make a big organizational change like the one we discuss here. So I don't think I can quantify it for you to say we invested $1,000 and we got $2,000. But
it's like a feeling, not in.
The feeling is once you get to the point that you have something like 100, 200 scripts running in continuous integration, covering the main data flows of your product, you are finding most of the bugs instantly, and your quality improves significantly.
Yes, and from the presentation, as we saw, people stopped fighting. So
Yes.
So a lot of problems were solved by this automatization. Yeah.
A lot of problems were solved. A lot of problems were solved, by, not just by the automating QA, but by moving to this continuous delivery model. A lot of problems were solved. It's
And this splitting into candies. Yeah.
no
Not big
sprints.
sheet, but candies.
Yes, yes. So doing this,
breaking
breaking
this
it
into
into daily work or weekly work. Yes.